we're going to talk about the subject of, you're following your dreams and your goals, especially in seasons of uncertainty, and especially during the time that we're currently living in, with COVID. It's very uncertain, and just navigating around those seasons of uncertainty, because it is so important that we, do our best to live out our life's purpose. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Truth Reveal podcast, where we host conversations that relate in order to reconcile as we reveal God's truth. I'm your host, Holly Harris, today, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Latricia Peak, aka Sweet.
Mhm.
And April Rivers.
Yes, and we have an exciting show for you guys today. We have an amazing guest with us that is going to help us talk about this topic that is near and dear to my heart. And basically, it's centered around your dreams, your purpose, and your goals, and navigating those seasons of uncertainty. So, with us today, we have Ruthenna Porterfield. Yeah.
Yay!
she's
Yeah.
she's another one of our college friends. I told our last guest that by the time the truth reveal is over, probably everybody from COS gonna be on the show.
You know.
But we have some amazing friends that have amazing stories and testimonies that we feel will be valuable to our listeners. So um again, today we're going to talk about the subject of, you're following your dreams and your goals, especially in seasons of uncertainty, and especially during the time that we're currently living in, with COVID. It's very uncertain, and just navigating around those seasons of uncertainty, because it is so important that we, do our best to live out our life's purpose. So, with that said, again, we have Ruthenna on today to help us with this topic. She lives in Los Angeles, California. She is an actress. Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, she is an actress. And Ruthenna, she made her television debut on the episode of that was her first debut, was on an episode of America's Court. Later, she graced the stage with the further adventures of Gabler in her
Okay.
theater debut. Yeah, am I saying it right? In her theater,
It's Hedda Gabler.
Hedda
Hedda Gabler.
Gabler. Okay. In her theater debut. Since then, she has been in a variety of plays, indie films, and shorts. Her most recent stage role was in the award winning Clybourne Park, where she received great reviews. Ruthenna is also an author of several published articles and an inspirational blog. And her memoir, Liberated from the Hill, will be released in 2021. So, got that
Ooh.
memoir coming out.
Yes.
Okay, and also she is soon to be a podcaster. That'll She'll be launching that. It's called Liberated Conversations with Ruthenna, and she's launching that on her birthday, which is August the 17th, if I can talk right tonight. So she's doing a lot of exciting things, and she has an amazing story. So I want to just really get started into her telling her story of faith. First of all, when Ruthenna first, kind of came to us, her, college friends, and told us what she was doing, I thought she was crazy. But I said, well, my Lord, if that's what you feel, then go forth, daughter. So, but I just want her to get into telling her
Ooh.
story. And basically, she, was here in college and decided to move to California to pursue her dream in acting. And so I just want her to start by telling her story, telling her first reactions that she felt when she got that first impression from God telling her, okay, I need you to go. and then just kind of
Right.
tell us about, that that initial reaction to that first impression, and then the practical steps that she had to take, and the moments, the hard times, some of the difficult moments that you had, and had to focus and get through, as well as some of the strides that you've made towards the fulfillment of your dreams. So I'm going to let her just start off with that first initial impression that when she
Okay.
felt the Lord say go. All right, Ruthenna.
um, I think it's important to say first that I always knew I wanted to be an actress. That wasn't something that came up out of nowhere. When I was a little girl, that was something I knew I was going to do. Now, there were some side steps and interventions and all kinds of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so that by the time I got to UNC Charlotte, it was like, oh, I best major in business administration because that's where money is. So,
Mm.
so I remember about 3.5 years in. We all know 3.5 years into college, you're close to graduating.
Yeah.
3.5 years in, I was sitting in an econ class,
Mm.
and I had no idea what the professor was saying. I had no idea what the work was. I was completely confused. And
Mm.
I was like, this is off. I'm leaving. And I got up in the middle of the class and I left. And I changed my
Wow.
major. And I changed it to communications. I wanted to change it to drama, which was originally what I wanted to major in. But like I said, it was being practical, right? So I changed it to communications. And at that point, I knew that at some point I was going to end up in LA. I knew that. There was no question. I knew at some point. How or when was still kind of up in the air, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I buy a house with one of my best friends whose name happened to be Faith.
Yeah.
So Faith, some way, shape, or form, has been in my life and very close to my life, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I bought the house, and I remember sitting down and talking with her and saying, as we were doing the paperwork, I was like, Faith, I'm not going to be here long. I don't know when or what, but I know that I'm not going to be here long. So we need to set this up in a way that gives me an out. And she
Mm-hmm.
was like, are you sure? And she said, okay, yeah. And I said, yeah, let's do it. And so we set it up in a way that gave me an out. And about 3 years later, I have gone through a lot of stuff, gotten a bomb job,
Mm-hmm.
living pretty well, and then God starts saying here and there, yeah, you're leaving before your next birthday, you're leaving. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, sure. And the closer I got to May of 2006, the heavier it felt. You're going to leave soon. You're going to leave soon. And
Wow.
then it turned into, okay, go. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. But I just kind of dismissed it because
Mm-hmm.
at that point I was like, well, I'm making money now. I'm starting life now. I'm about to hit at that point 29. Like life seems great, right? And then you guys, I was in my office and a girl who had been on vacation for like, I don't know, for weeks. I didn't even notice her like that. We worked in different departments. She came into my office. She was like, hey, Ruthenna, I don't know why, but I really feel like I need to tell you where I've been. I was like, okay, great. So she starts talking to me about how she started this business in Africa. And
Oh
she
wow.
goes on about how she's doing all of this. And as she's talking to me, God is saying through her, do you hear the reckless abandon? Do you
Mm.
hear the faith in everything that she's saying?
Wow.
This is where you're supposed to be. Go. Like I hear him very clearly saying all of this. Go as she's talking to me. I can't tell you what, all I know is the business has something to do with animals in Africa. That's all I remember. I don't remember the girl's name. This was some white. I remember I remember it clearly because it was a white girl. And I was like, so you're starting a business with animals in Africa. Okay.
Wow.
And so we were talking and God started speaking. By the time the conversation was over, my mind was made up. Okay,
Mm.
cool. I'm going. When do you want me to go? He says in August. I was like, yeah, it's May.
Oh
That's three
wow.
months from now. And he's like, yeah, I know what I said and I know what I meant in August. And I was like, cool, okay. At this point, it still doesn't really seem real. It's just an idea, right? It's still just like God saying something and you're all excited and you're like, okay, let's do this. And so immediately after I got off that same day, I went straight to the library, UNC Charlotte's library,
Mhm.
and I got on the computer and I started researching, right? Moving to LA, Los Angeles apartments, all this stuff. And then I start seeing the prices. And then I start seeing how much it costs to move. And then I start seeing what it's like to get jobs in LA. And I'm like, hand to God, this is what I said. Oh, you must have meant New York, right? Oh, you meant New York, God. Okay,
Oh
cool.
wow.
I'll come back tomorrow and we'll just start over. And so I literally got up from the computer, went to the steps. I don't know how much you guys remember of the library at UNC Charlotte,
Mhm.
but they had those steps at the back. And I went to the steps. And as I was taking the first step, God said, you know good and well, that's not what I said. Turn around, go back to that computer and start this thing again. I was like, crap.
Wow.
Went back to the computer. I was like, fine. And so I started the process. And at that point, it really started sinking in. He's dead serious. He wants me to go. I'm like, cool, okay, let's do this. I'm single. I have no kids. Why be scared about this? Let's just do it. I'll have a job. I asked for a job transfer. And I knew God was serious because when I asked for the job transfer, the district manager said to me, oh my gosh, I was just telling my superior about you.
Mm.
You serious? I'm like, you serious for real? Darn it. And so everything got started. And then I was like, okay, well, God, talk about practical steps. I was like, okay, God, well, I want to get out to LA, kind of scope the area, maybe get my apartment set up and everything so that when I actually move, everything's done, right? Because y'all know I'm a planner. I'm a very strategic planner. And God, I remember sitting in the Wendy's. I was sitting in a Wendy's, going through all this plan in my head. And God was like, that's not how you're going to do it. You're going to pack your car up and you're going to hit the road.
Mm.
And I was like, huh? And he said, yeah, you're packing your car up and you're going to hit the road. Everything that fits in your car goes, and whatever doesn't fit goes away.
Wow.
So I babbled with him for a little bit. And then I was like, this, and just like you, yes, I was like, this is crazy. What the freak? Like, this is crazy. And he said, and this is what got me. Oh, I get teary eyed because I love him so much. He said, you gotta be okay with it just being me and you.
Mm.
Because right now it's about to be just me and you. I was
Wow.
like, okay, cool. And I was good with that. Like that was enough. That was enough for me. That just to hear him and to feel him, um, to feel that love and that security of his voice and of his command, and like to know that I would be okay because yeah, it's just me and him. Like,
Yeah.
darn it, let's do this. Let's do this. And so yeah, so that's kind of the practical steps went out the window. It really did. And
Wow.
he really had me study the story of Abraham as I was preparing for the move. And people forget that these are real people in the Bible. These aren't just
Mhm.
stories that
Mhm.
we're reading,
Mhm.
you know. Um,
Yeah.
he told Abraham to leave everything that he
Everything.
knew.
My Lord.
Everything that he knew,
Yeah.
his life, everything. He was like, take your wife and go. And you
Mhm.
got to remember, Abraham was old. Ain't like he was 20.
Right.
This is
Abraham
true.
was old. So he had lived an entire life
Life.
with his
Wow.
family and had
Yeah.
started, back then career wasn't a term, but he was doing what he knew to do. And
Mm-hmm.
God was like, yeah, I want you to move. And then he tells him, and go someplace and I'll tell you where to go. Just start
Just
going.
start
Right.
going. There you
Just
go,
go.
Jeanette. I'm telling you.
No sense of
Like what?
direction.
Like nothing. Just
Oh.
just go. So yeah, I really did a huge study on him and his life, and that really kind of carried me through. Um, Telling people not was it difficult? It wasn't difficult. But I think it wasn't difficult because I knew what to expect. I knew I was going to get a lot of crazy. The only person that didn't tell me I was crazy was one of my good friends. I call her my niece, Keela, and she was like, "Yeah, like what else? Oh, yeah, of course that's what you're gonna do."
Wow.
Um, but mostly everyone else was like,
Yeah.
so yeah. So it was. It's. I always try to let people know that my story is my story, right? This is my story, my testimony, right? So practic practicality went out the window for me. That doesn't mean it goes out the window for everybody else, right?
Mhm.
Just for whatever reason, God has taken the practicalities of life out of the equation for me. And it's been like that since I moved to LA.
Wow.
So,
It's
Okay.
awesome.
So tell us about like some of the, the hard moments that you had, going out there
child,
and, expecting one thing because, I did read your blog, the one called Living the Dream, and it was
yeah.
very insightful, very relatable. And so I just want you to kind of go into more, detail as much as you want
Right.
to as it relates to what you experienced when you moved out there.
I experienced hell within 48 hours
Wow.
Mm.
of arriving.
Wow.
Because it was nothing like what I expected. I came out here thinking that I'm still a planner, right? So in my
Hmm.
mind, I'm like, well, I have a job, I have money saved, I have a car. So I got out here on a Wednesday. The plan was by Friday will have secured an apartment. Probably move in that Monday, something like that. Um, I was fully aware of how expensive it was to live out here. I wasn't aware of what you get for your money. You get nothing for your money. Um, but I was fully aware of how much it would be. Um, and the first 24 hours went pretty much as planned. I had a couple of meetings to start, the transfer, and I went downtown LA, which I thought was the dirtiest place on the planet.
Wow.
Um, and I picked up some apartment books or whatever, and I was like, yeah, let's start this. That was that Thursday. Shout out to Noelle, our friend Noelle. Noelle was kind
Yeah.
of with me the whole that first, I'll say the first 5 days. She was on the phone
Oh,
constantly with me,
wow.
kind of directing me. It was funny. She was literally on the computer pulling up like MapQuest, and I would tell
Wow.
her
Wow.
the intersections where I
Oh,
was, and she
wow.
would put it in and be like, okay, there's a hotel here. Okay, where are you now? Turn right, turn left. Like she was really kind of directing me 3,000 miles away.
Oh,
Um,
Wow.
wow.
it was really crazy because you got to remember, I didn't
Mm.
know a soul when I got out here. I didn't even know someone who knew someone when I got out here.
Wow.
It was just me and Jesus. Like it
Yeah.
really was that.
Oof.
Um, so and I came out here completely blind. And so, yeah, we were online a lot. So it went as planned the first day. By Friday, when I was apartment hunting, my now I know it was my spirit, but it started to click that I wasn't going to find an apartment then.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, but I can't spend $100 on a hotel every, like, what the freak.
Mm.
And I remember by Friday afternoon going into evening, I pulled to the side of the road and I was bawling. I was
Wow.
bawling. And I was like, God, what did you do? You brought me all the way out here. What the freak are you doing? And so Friday went by, Saturday, let me fast forward. Basically, I didn't get an apartment until November 1st. I got here on August 10th.
Wow.
I didn't have an apartment until November 1st.
Wow.
However, but let me show you how God works. This is how crazy it is. God ensured that I got a spiritual home first before I got a physical home. You guys, less than a month, I'll say 3.5 weeks went by before I had my church that I'm a member of right now.
Wow.
And it's like, and now I realize, of course, that for him, the most important thing for him was for my spirit to be taken care of. He's like, I got you everything else. Like, I got what you need. I'm your dad. Like, I'm your father. Like, of course I want to take care of you. I need you to understand the importance of your spirit. I need you to understand that it's important that your spirit is taken care of, specifically and particularly in seasons like this, where you have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea where you're going. You have no idea what's happening. The most important thing for you to take care of at that point is your spirit. And the only way you're going to take care of your spirit in times like that is by letting God handle all of the physical stuff. And so, and it took a minute for me to get that.
Wow.
It took a while. Like, it took a long time. The way he provided was very different, very strange. Before I got my apartment, and I'll give you this quick story because I don't want to give a bunch of stories. You know what I mean? I don't want to take up you guys' time like that. But I think this is important just as an example of understanding that God works in ways that he's understanding the infinite characteristic of God. I think people need to really begin to grasp that God is infinite. And I think that is how we truly comprehend the verse where it says his ways are higher than our ways, his thoughts are higher than our thoughts.
Yeah.
Our minds are confined by our own experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our experiences tend to determine our perspective and our opinions of the way things work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with me, I ended up finding a hotel, yada yada yada. And after about a month, I was like, God, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm tired of this. This is a lot of money coming out. You need to give me an apartment. Thank you for Faithful Central, hallelujah. But Faithful Central is my church that I'm.
Okay.
No, I'm great. Even that was a whole. The way that God led me to that is amazing. But I was like, I thank you for Faithful Central. That's great, but I need someplace to stay, right? So I told God, we had a lot of conversations like this. I said, God, I'm done. This is exactly how I said it. I'm done staying in this hotel. I'm checking out, and you need to tell me where to go.
Wow.
That's what I said to him.
All right.
And I said that to him at the beginning of the week. And I'm sure he laughed just the same way you laughed. I was like, this chick. Okay. And so I said that at the beginning of the week. And I remember I went to work and I told my coworker, she was like, oh, listen, have you found an apartment yet? I was like, no, but I'm about to be up out this hotel. I know that, or motel, because I was staying in a cheap motel, like a $25, $50, like I was staying in a cheap motel.
Oh, wow.
And it was coming to the end of September at that point, and I was done. And she was like, so where are you going to go? And my friends will tell you that I am unapologetically a Jesus lover. I'm an unapologetic Jesus lover.
Mm-hmm.
So when she asked me, I don't care if you save or not, he's the love of my life. So the way you talk about your husband, I'm gonna talk about him. And so when she asked me, I said, "Yep, I'm about to check out this out this motel, and God just gonna have to do something. How about that?" And she was like, "So you don't know where you're going?" I was like, "Nope, but I guess God knows." And she was like, "Okay, Ruthenna, okay." Um, Meanwhile, there is a young lady who had just been hired about a couple of days before that conversation. The next day, she approaches me. I had met her in passing. You know how it is in corporate America. You meet somebody in passing that just starts, and you may or may not see them, that type of thing. She approaches me and she says, "Hey, Ruthenna, so you don't have an apartment?" And I said, "No." And she said, "I heard you talking with my friend, the coworker." And she said, "So me and my husband are going away to Mexico for the weekend. If you'd like, when you check out, you can come and stay at our house." And I was
Mm-hmm.
like,
Wow.
"I don't know you." I don't think. And I was like, "Oh, that's really nice, but you don't have to," I kind of dismissed it. And she was like, "Well, I'll tell you what, let me go talk to my husband, yada, yada, yada." She goes, talks to her husband. The next day, she comes back, hands me her phone number, and says, "Hey, we want you to come stay, yada, yada, yada." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." I took the number and put it somewhere. And later that day, she came back to me. She said, "You know what? Why don't we exchange numbers? Let me get your number. So just so, we have each other's
Wow.
information." I was like, "Okay, sure." Gave her my number. Friday comes. And at that point, I think I had thrown her number away. I had tossed it
Oh
by that
Lord.
point because I had no intention. I didn't know her. Come on. You guys, some chick that you don't know from Adam walks up to you, and we are from the South.
That's true.
This is a racial time, so let's be real. We are from the South. We are Black.
Mm-hmm.
If a white woman walks up to you and says, "Hey, we're leaving for the weekend. Come stay at our house." Like,
Somewhere
realistically,
in a
let's be
closet.
I mean, no, I understand. Look, I'm gonna let you tell your story, girl. But you was homeless and you asked God.
Come on now.
that's
And he
not
was
what I
making
thought.
a way.
You're gonna end up in the sunken
I
place,
wouldn't.
Woo!
Serene. Don't do it.
Get
And
out.
it really-
I wasn't. I wasn't feeling that way.
I
I wasn't feeling
understand.
that
I
way.
understand.
So, and you know what? A lot of it is pride too. A lot of it is
Hmm.
pride.
Wow.
And so by Saturday, I packed up the car and I went and I checked out. And I'm driving around the road. I was like, "Okay, God, what's up? Like, what we gonna do?" And my
Mm-hmm.
plan was to go to Crenshaw Mall and just kind of hang out till something kind of came to me. So I went to go get gas. And as I was driving back from the gas station, my phone rings. And it's the
Wow.
girl. And she says, "Hey, we're about to leave. Um, when are you coming? Like, if you're coming now, would be great." And I told her, I said, "Hold on, let me pull over." And I pulled over, and God was like, "That's me. That's me."
Mm.
And here's the thing, God really started speaking to me in a different way when I got to LA. Because again, it's just me and him. He didn't really used to speak that clear. Well, yeah, he spoke clearly, but not like that conversational type,
Mm.
responsive type way. Now our relationship is so that we talk. Does that make sense? Like
Mm-hmm.
we
Mhm.
talk.
That
And
makes sense.
I'm getting to the place now where I can even distinguish between it being God my Father and God the Holy Spirit. Like, I'm getting now to a place where I can even distinguish those two things. um
Mm-hmm.
and so he was like, "That's me." Crap. So got the directions, went to her, and went to her house, met her husband, met her daughter. They handed me the keys, gave me some instructions about food and stuff, and they left. They left this
Wow.
strange girl
That's
that they
crazy.
knew no one and just went to Mexico. And I remember I was
Mm.
sitting on the couch like, okay, like just tell me,
Wow.
what do you do? And me being Southern, I refused to eat any of their food. I went to Burger King, got all this stuff and everything. It was crazy. Um, by the way, that young lady is who I call my California sister. She, in fact, I have spent the last 2 Thanksgivings with her. She lives
Wow.
in
Wow.
Seattle. She, for the last couple of years, she has bought me plane tickets to come to the outside of Seattle in Washington to spend Thanksgiving with her and her family. Her daughter is like my niece. We
Wow.
are
Wow.
still
Look at Jesus.
Won't he do it?
still friends
Won't he
to this
will?
day. Um, yeah, practicality went out the window, you guys. It just, and it's been out the window ever since. It's if you read the blog, I mean, when God tells you
Yeah.
that's your last regular job that you're ever going to have in life, it's like, wait, what? Like,
Mm.
I mean, my God, I haven't had a full-time job since 2008. I haven't had
Wow.
a regular job since 2008.
That's
That's
Lord,
crazy.
Ruthenna just out here living reckless, y'all.
Ooh.
Faith got you out
Well,
here rich. That's
Look,
awesome.
Well,
I wanted to ask Ruthenna one thing, or just mention something, talking about the practicality, because we know, and I don't want to just put this on race and culture, but just particularly for
no,
African American,
please.
when you got that good job, okay,
Good
oh
job.
you
my.
got the good job,
Well.
you got a house. We
Mm.
think that is stable stability. We are
Mhm.
stable
Yes.
Stanleys here around here. Taking risk, we don't like that. You know,
Mm.
how did you? And I know you heard from the Lord, but how were there other things in your life that kind of prepared you to be the type of person that was
Yeah,
able to kind of turn
absolutely.
your mind to where you felt like basically that was maybe a false sense of security as far as the stable job and the stable house, like, to say that you know practicality was not, when you finally got to say, well, practicality is what do you call it, relative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that your life was going to be different. Like, what
Mm.
happened to make your mind shift and not be going along with everybody else? It's like, I got a good job, I got this, I got that. Like, why? I hope I formulated that
Um,
right.
you know what? The, definitely my relationship with him. But you guys witnessed a lot of it. The first crazy thing that God told me to do was go back to UNC Charlotte. You got to remember, you
That's
all of you
right.
were in state.
Mm.
All of you were in
Yeah.
state. I was out of state.
Oh yeah.
All my closest friends were in South Carolina going to USC.
Mhm.
Um, and I have to say, because there'll probably be some California people watching this, when I say USC, I mean the University of South
South
Carolina,
Carolina.
Amen. Amen.
The
not
real USC. No, I'm just playing.
the real
The
original
real.
USC that's over
Carolina,
2 centuries old. Yes, that
Carolina,
USC.
baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I had no idea how I was going to pay for that. Like,
Mm.
and again, you guys witnessed it. Every
Yeah.
semester for me was a
Mhm.
financial
Wow. Yeah.
scare. It was
Yeah.
always a scare. Holly, you was it you and Sweet, I think. Holly, remember that semester where I was home and I had decided, because I didn't have the money to come back, I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
screw this. I'm not coming. Screw it. If this is what I'm supposed to do. And God kept saying, are you on crack? You're going back. You're going back. Because I couldn't get anyone to take me. And
Yeah.
I came from a family, God bless them, but faith ain't exactly the they love Jesus or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but faith ain't exactly it's very practical with them.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
so me going to UNC Charlotte was already kind of a point
A
of
faith
contention
thing.
with them.
Got
So
you.
getting someone to take me back to school was out just difficult. No one wanted to.
Mhm.
And I was like, screw it, I didn't know. And sure enough, what happened? Shamika calls me and she says, where are you? And
Mm.
in her mind, it was inconceivable that the only reason I wouldn't come back to school was because I didn't have a ride. Like that didn't even make sense.
Wow.
And so God started even then kind of planting those seeds. And it started, my faith began to grow then back in college, because when I first got back to UNC Charlotte, every semester was like, oh my God, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? But every single semester he came through, so that by the time I got to like the third year, I didn't even think about it anymore. It
Mhm.
was, okay, so what's the balance? Okay, so you got this. All right, so, and just keep it moving. It was growing then. And I think it's so important for us. You know, we often talk about, you hear those old lines, you know, if he did it before, he'll do it again. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
people say all that stuff all the time, but I think they don't, it doesn't settle, because if you truly believe it, you don't worry about it. You don't,
Mhm.
Right.
you don't think about it. And at UNCC, that's when that kind of really settled in, where I would see thousands, because it wasn't hundreds of dollars that I owed. It would be
Mm.
$3,000,
Lord.
$5,000. Financial aid was not like, it would be nothing, like tons of money, and
Yeah.
God would just cover it. It would be, I'd get a check here, or something would come through, just all kinds of stuff. So it started being built then. It really started being built then. But the important piece to understand is that I took it in. I didn't just dismiss it as God came through, yay. It was, oh,
Mm.
you're for real. Like,
Yeah.
I took it as him really establishing who he was.
Mm.
His, you know how, here's a great, you know how you're in a relationship and you always want the guy to prove who he is, right? That consistency, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what he was proving for me. He was settling how consistent he is, his
That's
consistency.
good.
Yes.
And once
Yes.
he established that, I was like, okay, cool. So that by the time he told me to go, yeah, we fought a little bit, we argued a little bit, but I'm sure sometimes he's like, okay, are we really going to go through this again? Like, you're going to do it. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of times I just say to him, but I just got to get it out. You just got to hear this. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Wow.
that's,
That's awesome.
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay. Well, tell us about some of your, like, your first no, like when you went on that auditioning process and how that was, and when you got your first yes as well.
You know, guys, I was really blessed. My first audition I got.
Awesome.
Um,
Wow.
I was
All
really, really
right.
blessed. Now there've been a lot of no, there've been a lot of no since, for sure. The first audition, and the thing about it is I didn't even expect to get it. Um, the role on the show came, again, I really didn't expect to get it because it was a ton of people, like a
Mm.
ton of people in the room.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I don't have anything on my resume. I got a black and white headshot. Like, I'm gonna just go for the experience.
Hmm.
And when they told me that I got it, I was like, oh,
Wow.
okay. Um, and then the first play, again, like I said, I was just really, really blessed. This isn't everybody's story. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the first play I went to, I remember sitting in the car before I went into that audition,
Hmm.
and the mantra came to me that I use to this day. And the mantra is, do your best, let God do the rest. I've always
Hmm.
had a very clear understanding about this business, even from a young age,
Mm.
that it's not about you. It's a lot of times yeses and nos are not based on what you present. yeses and nos are based on what they need.
Mm-hmm.
And what you present may not be what they need. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not talented, you're not good enough, you're not this or you're not that. A lot of times it really is just that what you presented is not what they need.
Gotcha.
And so I went in that first audition for the play, got it. The thing about no's here in LA and in this industry is that no's come in the form of no response. That's what
You just say
that's,
from them again.
it comes when 3 days go by and you don't hear anything, or a week goes by and you don't hear anything. That's how the no's come. And I think those are very unsettling because you still have this hope, right? You have this hope. And at some point you have to let go of the hope. And that's what makes the industry so difficult. And that's what weeds out a lot of people. The fact that you're really thinking, even though 2 days go by, you're thinking, well, maybe. I have gotten to the point, and you guys know me well enough to know that I have very thick skin. I have gotten to the point where I can walk in, do what I need to do, and walk out. If I don't hear anything within 48 hours, I move on. And so that's how I pretty much handle it. Now, there have been roles that I have really, really wanted. I have really, really wanted and didn't get. And it was disappointing, but not heartbreaking. I haven't had a heartbreaking disappointment yet because, again, I understand how the industry works. My heartbreak comes with the fact of, okay, God, it's been how many years? What's up? Like, where's the breakout role? Where's the big thing or whatever? What's up? That's where my thing has come. It hasn't been not getting a specific role or a specific show or anything like that. It really just has been what's the thing? How long God, when God, when.
Wow.
That's when rent is due and it's like, okay,
wow.
what's up? When bills are coming up, and like I said in the blog that you read, look, I could be home. Like I could be in Charlotte because I love acting so much. So I'm one of those people that I would do it just to do it. Like I'm cool with with the stuff that I've done so far because I love to act. I love it. It's something that it's a passion. So everything I've done up to this point, I'm cool. I love it. So I'm like, okay, God, I can do some community stuff in Charlotte, because I'm not going back to Charleston. I'm good. Good.
Yeah.
He's like, but I completely let go of that. Just that whole idea of coming back to Charlotte. I constantly get asked, when are you coming home? When are you coming home? I constantly, last year, which was a very tough year for me, I call her my Charlotte mom. I remember she said it was the first time she showed doubt about what I know God has said. And she said, Ruthenna, and I had to cut her off. And when I cut her off, she got it. But she said, Ruthenna, you've been out there for over 10 years. You could go to Atlanta and do the practical stuff, the practical.
Right.
You really need to think about this. You're out there struggling and you need to do this. And I'm like, you need to stop. And I had to stop and cut her off because I knew it like my spirit, the way that my spirit just turned, it just hearing it, my spirit was like, you need to stop. Because the thing about faith is that any seed, there's good seeds and there's bad
Yeah.
seeds.
Yeah.
And any little thing can shake it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to cut it. I had to cut it off. And it's like, and I stopped her and she said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And we went through the conversation. And I get it. It's crazy, you guys. I totally get it. You can look at my life and go, but Ruthenna, like, it could be so much easier. It could be so much better. You could be married with kids and all of this stuff right now. And I'm like, but I'm so at peace right now. Like, I can't,
Come on.
Yeah.
I cannot explain to you the peace that I have, the, like, you know, we're in this COVID season and everyone would, it's a very, very difficult financial time for
Mm-hmm.
everyone. And I've gotten to this place. I was talking to our brother, Teray. I was talking to Teray and I said, I struggle to talk with a lot of people because people don't understand this kind of peace.
Mm.
I can't tell you how my rent has been paid in the apartment that I have for the last since 2011. I can't tell you. I can if I sat down, honest, I can't tell you. I have no,
Wow.
I can tell you how funds have come through a few times, but it's just too much to think, like,
Mm-hmm.
how he came through every month. I have no idea. You know, I'm
Wow.
living in a very, I'm not living in Beverly Hills by any means, but I'm living, I'm living in an area that is, if you saw the blog, you saw the picture. Did you see the picture?
I believe so. Yeah.
It's not Compton. Let's just say that. It's not Compton.
Straight out of Compton.
It's straight out of Compton. Which, by the way, you guys, is not as bad as people say. It's not.
Got
Just a lot of, there's so many misconceptions, which I think we'll probably get to. But
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. What do you feel is people's misconceptions that they may have about Hollywood and going out there and that sort of thing?
the first and most annoying misconception for me is this idea that everyone that's on TV is a millionaire. That's BS.
Got you.
I have very close friends, almost like family. They're not COS level yet, but they're almost like family. But very close people in my life in the industry, faces that you would recognize, names that you would recognize. And I watched them struggle. I was
Wow.
really blessed to, and this is all a part of the story, the people that God strategically placed in my circle, he placed in my circle at times in their life where I was able to witness the struggle, where I was able to see these people walk down the street and people come up to them and go, oh my gosh, can I take a picture? Da, 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 you know, and
Wow.
then go back home and struggle to try to figure out how they're going to pay their mortgage and how they're going to do.
Wow.
I have witnessed some. I've seen houses taken. I have seen from names that you,
Wow.
faces that you recognize. I have seen, um, it's just such a common misconception, and it annoys me that people, I hate when people go, oh, I don't understand how they went broke. I don't understand how they didn't have no money. No, the way that the finances work in this industry is straight up mess. It's straight up mess.
Wow.
Actors are the bottom of the totem pole.
Hmm.
So don't, that's a big misconception. Um, another annoying misconception is the person that you see on TV is the person that they are. That's an annoying misconception for me. It drives me up the wall.
Wow.
We're actors.
Right.
Yeah, so
Look,
you can act.
listen to me, Ruthie. Listen to
Yes.
me. Claire Hug. There's no Felicia Rashad. It's Claire Huxtable.
Yeah.
No, no. Um,
Oh.
no. A good example, because I think Holly, did you see my reel? I think,
That you sent me to your website?
yeah,
I did, yeah.
yeah. And the first line out of my mouth would shock most of it, most of you, most of everyone who knows me. But it's called acting.
Yeah.
It's acting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so that's the common misconception. As far as that's the industry, and there's so many others, but those are my two biggest ones. As far as the city itself, I think the one of the biggest, of course, is um, that straight out of Compton, uh, Boys in the Hood, what else,
Mhm.
Ministers, all those things that just that just runs rampant. Um, that now, decades after, it is so not like that at all. Now there are places. South Central is still crazy. I Watts is still kind of crazy.
Mhm.
And I went to Watts, and in fact, it was a Latino girl who lived in Watts, but she went to Fred Price's church. And
Okay.
so
Oh
she
yeah.
she wanted me to go visit her church with her. I was like, cool. And then I had to take her home. And I was like, cool. And yeah, she was like, okay, so this is what I need you to do. And she started giving me directions as far as
Wow.
where to turn, when to turn, like that type of thing. So Watts is still kind of a iffy
Mm.
area. South Central is still kind of an iffy area. There's certain streets that are still, but the city of Compton is actually pretty nice. I would
Mm.
compare what black areas there in Charlotte. Um, Betty's Ford, the nice part of Betty's Ford Road.
Oh.
Mhm.
That's kind of what
Okay.
Compton is. Um, Crenshaw is Crenshaw.
Crenshaw.
Crenshaw is very cultural. It's very, very culturally black.
Okay.
Um, so that part is crazy. I will say this though. When I woke up the next morning, because I got here on a Wednesday evening, when I woke up Thursday morning,
Mhm.
the first news story that I saw on the news was how the government, the city of Los Angeles government was taking over the Los Angeles Unified School District
Oh wow.
because it had gotten so crazy
Wow.
that the
Mm.
city had decided, you know what, all of y'all fired. We're bringing
Wow. You fired.
Wow.
I was like, what have I been brought into?
Wow.
What is this craziness? Um, so yeah, there are common misses. And also, by the way, the whole idea of, yeah, a lot of people do move here with a bunch
Mhm.
of dreams, and most of them leave. And I talked about this a little before. Most of them leave within a year.
Mm.
I'll
Wow.
say within 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
My plan was actually be gone after 3 years. That was my plan. I told God if
Mm.
I hadn't made it in 3 years, I was out.
Wow.
2.5 years, I was ready to go.
Mm.
God was like, no. He was like, no. And it's so
Wow.
funny. My friend, one of my industry friends, when we met, I told him how I was so ready to move because he met me at a really difficult time in my life here. And I said, I'm ready to go. And I only want to be here for 3 years. And I'm done with LA. And he said, you know what, Ruthenna? I said the same thing. And I've been here for almost 20 years.
Oh Lord.
Wow.
I was like, dang. But he's actually
Wow.
pretty successful. He's doing well. He's doing
Wow.
well now. But he had spurts. And that's what this
Mm.
industry is. It's spurts, unless you hit it like Denzel or whatever.
Yeah.
But even Denzel has a story. Even
Mm-hmm.
Morris Chestnut has a story. Even like all of these people, they have a story.
Yeah.
They have a story. And what you see is not what you get. There is a
Mm.
whole backstory behind everything that you see in front of the camera. It's
Wow.
God, I wish people understood that. These are human beings, man. This is so yes, she's
Mm.
Claire Huxtable, but she is Felicia Rashad,
For
and
sure.
she is somebody's mama.
She
Like,
sure
Yeah.
is. Yes, she
there
is.
is a reason why her and Debbie Allen are sisters. Let me tell you. Like, it is very clear that they are sisters.
Wow.
Very clear.
Next time on Truth Reveal.
I want to ask you this since we talked about you mentioned about um, basically the wealth or people thinking that, everybody in Hollywood is rich. What it's two parts to this. I think part of the reason why people can think that is because it's like mirrors. When you see them portray, it always looks like they're at the top of wealth, that they're doing these things and they're presenting themselves to the public, and not that they're their fault. They're supposed to present themselves
Right.
well.
They
But
have to.
we see them in always, it's kind of like, how Facebook is always like the best of ourselves. Like a lot of times,
Highlight
or
reel.
Instagram, the
Yep.
highlight reel. So we see them coming out the limo. We see them going to this party. We see them going to this. So in our mind, we're just in our little polo minds, we're just calculating that as wealth, not that
Yeah.
they got an
Yeah.
entity behind them that is they're going in debt to maybe, or people that they're basically having to go on a hole, or somebody, some agent or somebody doing this. How did you balance? And you love Jesus, so I kind of halfway know part of this answer. But how did you
I'm still
have you ever had to fight the wanting to basically fake the funk or look the part of what you're there to do?
Mm.
You know?
Very good.